Well, let's officially begin then. My name is Lisa Vincent, and I work at Fresno City College, obviously. College Relations Specialist, that's what they call me. Very fancy name for outreach counselor. Worked there for 10 years in various capacities, advising, academic advising, career advising, and now outreach. Prior to that, I was a high school counselor for 13 years. And I've taught some courses at National and City, various subjects. So I have a perspective on high school age and adult, transitioning from high school to colleges. And I work a lot with high school students coming in. I work a lot with the adult population. Depending upon the day of the week, I could be at Fresno Adult School, I could be at University High School, I could be at Kerman High School, I could be at a business doing a business education fair, I could be at some sort of educational meeting or just out in the community wherever there are potential students. And I'm also president of an organization called the Adult Education Task Force. And it is a membership or organization of counselors, outreach specialists, admissions advisors, career counselors from various educational institutions in this area. So we come together and we network and we share information and we refer and we do events. So I have a broader knowledge of the types of educational opportunities that are in this area, not just Fresno City. And so I've also worked with the mayor on Learn to Earn project and things like that. So hopefully that qualifies me to share what I'm going to today. I don't have all the answers. If I don't, I can get you the information, hopefully. So we're going to, maybe about an hour, if that, we'll talk about, in general, a broader picture of education. Because if you're out there working with folks, you're not going to only need to have knowledge about Fresno City College. You might have somebody interested in some other type of educational institution or program. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the types of educational opportunities out there in terms of degrees and such, although I think a lot of you probably are aware of that already. And of course, some financial aid information. We'll talk about that in general, go into some detail, but that's a whole other presentation. I could be here for 3 hours talking about financial aid too, so it might be something we can branch off into later on. I'm going to take this off because it's kind of warm in here. Oh, okay. Well, hopefully you'll have a broader understanding that will help you know all what's out there and what's available and such. So, yeah, and I might even talk a little bit more about Fresno City. We'll just kind of go with the flow and see where it takes us. And by the way, if you didn't know, Fresno City College is part of the community college system in this area. It's called State Center Community College District. And it's our family of community college campuses. It's kind of like Fresno Unified has Bullard and McLean and, Edison and all that. Our system includes Fresno City, but our sister campus is Reedley College. We have a new campus. It used to be called Willow International, out on Willow and International. It's now Clovis Community College. And we have a site in Madera and Oakhurst. It's all the same application process, financial aid, deadlines, etc. So I represent that district too. That's broader than just Fresno City. So there's a governing board of directors. There's a chancellor of our district, yes, and then each site has a president and VPs and deans and all that. So,
and this is statewide.
Well, that's our local community college district. Now there are 112 community colleges in the state of California.
They're not all together.
They're spread out all over the place. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that system too. So yeah, it's good to have an understanding of all that. So let's see what else I have here. Okay. Okay, we talked about the review. Let's talk in general about when someone is going beyond high school, what type of education can they obtain, the different types of degrees. And again, this might be old hat for some of you, but many institutions in this area offer what we call short-term training. Used to be called vocational training. They are we call them certificates, or you get certified in a particular job skill. All of those are usually a year or less to obtain. So you only take courses in that particular job skill. So for example, you want to be a welder, you want to be a mechanic, you want to be a preschool teacher's aide, you want to go into culinary arts, you want to do air conditioning repair, you want to be an accounting clerk. On and on and on. There are different types of certifications. Just coming out of high school does not train you for anything in particular. Okay, you absolutely need the high school diploma or GED these days, but some folks are not. Their goal, or because of financial reasons or what have you, they don't see themselves going to college for years and years and years. Okay, maybe it's that older adult that was laid off from work. Now they need some sort of additional training. Maybe it's a student that just left high school that struggled in high school, but they have a particular talent. They don't see themselves at Fresno State or on and on. So they can obtain a certificate or training, degree, not a degree, but training certificate, and then be employable. Some careers, businesses, jobs only require that you're certified in something. Somebody's hiring a welder, you need to be certified in welding. You don't need a bachelor's degree in welding, okay? Some businesses, hospitals, there are different types of positions that only require a short-term training program. So many institutions offer those. The next, not necessarily a step up, but the next thing you can obtain is an associate's degree. That is a college degree. You obtain that at a community college or a private type community college, like a San Joaquin Valley College or a Heald. 2 years or less, depending on where you're going and depending upon how many classes you take, if you're, on track that way. It is a college degree, and many employers, businesses only require an associate's degree to be hired. So, for example, Fresno City, many community colleges offer associate's degrees, and again, the private. So that's the next step up in terms of education. The next up above that is a bachelor's degree. So that's what you obtain at a university. So like the CSUs, the UCs. Now in California, I mentioned the community college system. The public community college system, 112, soon to be 113 when our Clovis Community College gets final approval. Supplemented by tax money. Okay. The other two systems in the state of California are the CSUs. There's 23 of them. That's whenever you hear California State University, Bakersfield, or you hear state, Fresno State, Chico State. Then you have the UC system, UCLA, UC Santa Barbara, UC Riverside. There's 10 of those. So those are the public universities in this area. So you can obtain bachelor's degrees there. You can also obtain bachelor's degrees at private universities. Those are the types of institutions. They don't fall into those public systems. So like Fresno Pacific, Stanford, USC, Pepperdine, National, DeVry. Those are all independent colleges where you can obtain bachelor's degrees. Now the thing with the associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, it requires general ed. You've heard of that. If you have a degree, you know what that means. A lot of young people or even adults are not familiar with what that means. When you obtain a degree in college, whether it's an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, almost half of your units or your curriculum or your program is general ed. Doesn't matter what major. I could be a music major, you're an engineering major, you're an accounting major, and you're an education major. We all have to take English, math, sciences, life sciences, and physical sciences, classes in the arts and humanities, classes in the behavioral sciences. Depending on the degree, there might be another, category or two. So, I ended up being an education psychology counseling major, but I took English, and I took Algebra 2, and I took geology, and I took art appreciation, and I took U.S. history, and all that, because it was part of general ed. Then the other part of your degree are the classes in your particular major. Many folks out there are not aware of that. This can scare some folks, because a lot of times I hear, well, that's just like high school. Or why do I have to take that if I want to be an accountant? Why do I have to take U.S. history? Okay, so you need to educate folks in terms of, if you want a degree, be prepared for general ed. Okay. Then moving on, you can obtain a master's degree. Then we have the PhDs, the doctors of psychology, the doctors of history. Then you have the professional doctorates, like a medical doctor, surgeon, that sort of thing. Okay, and usually as you go up the ladder, or down the ladder in this case, the more time that it takes. And again, what I get too from folks is, well, how long is it going to take to get this? Or how long is it going to take to get this? Well, we've heard, okay, this is the 2-year degree, this is the 4-year degree, you can do this in 6 years or whatever. That's only if you keep up on the amount of classes that you need to obtain the units that for your degree. Units in college are like credits in high school. You have to earn so many credits to get your high school diploma. In college, you have to earn so many units to get your degree. So, for example, like 2-year associate degree, that's only, for example, at Fresno City, if you take 4 or 5 classes a semester. Okay. Now, some folks might just take 1 or 2. It will take you longer. Okay. So, I have my master's in counseling and a credential, and obviously the bachelor's. But by the time I received that, I was 10 years in college. If I would have went straight through full time, it would have probably taken me about 6. But I didn't. I worked. I took 1 or 2 classes a semester sometimes. So many people out there don't realize that. Okay? If you need to keep up on the amount of classes that you need. Okay. Area. Let's talk about what's available. This might not be everything that's available. Some things are popping up, new campuses all the time, but you're going to have individuals who are going to be interested in certain degrees, majors, or whatever that maybe various institutions offer, and you need to be aware of that. Although in this community, a lot of folks, they end up going to a Fresno City or a Fresno State, but there are other options. Okay. So, certificate programs, short-term training, you can obtain those at the adult schools. Fresno Adult, Central, Clovis, in this area. Folks go there to obtain a GED or high school diploma, but there's also some training programs there, short-term certificates. You can go to Fresno Adult and get a culinary arts certificate. You can go to Clovis and get a office management or procedures or what have you certificate. So that is an option for some individuals who want short-term training. The adult schools offer that. I talked about in our area what the community college system, but there are others. Okay, so again, this is a public system, usually short-term training, certificates, and associate's degrees. And then in our area, in terms of the CSUs and the UCs, we have Fresno State and UC Merced. Okay. So bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, doctorates, etc. This is the public system. We receive tax money to offset costs, to hire teachers, to offset costs for tuition. We're accredited by a certain institution. This is all this family right here. But then we have the private system. And in this area, There's Alliant University, focuses on psychology and behavioral health and education, but we also have DeVry. You've probably heard of some of these. There's the Embry-Riddle, Fresno Pacific. Then you have the Healds, the Institute of Technology, ITT, Technical Institute, not to be confused. Kaplan, National, San Joaquin College of Law, San Joaquin Valley College, UEI, University of Phoenix, Westmed College, on and on. Okay, so they're their own systems, and there might be more in a certain system, like Healds. There are Healds in the Western United States or whatever. Some of them are just one of a kind, like a Fresno Pacific. All of these offer various types of degrees and such. Now, when you're talking with someone about these institutions and why they may want to go, you want to educate them in terms of certain things to be aware of. Okay. One is costs, right? So a lot of students are going to ask, how much does it cost? Okay, so for example, a community college is $46 a unit anywhere in the state of California. So you pay for as many units as you take. And classes, you earn units each semester. So, and it doesn't matter what class. I could be taking Psych 2, and you're taking beginning guitar, and you're taking engineering 10. If we're going to earn 3 units, we're going to pay $138 for that class. The more units you take, the more money you pay. So let's say a full-time student at a community college, if they average 15 units a semester, they transfer or graduate with their associate's degree in 2 years. So 15, you're going to times that by 46, so that's $690. So that would be their fees. You have to pay for books in college. You can rent books now in college. So I usually say add a few $100, let's say $1,000 a semester at a community college, 15 units, if you're taking 15 units. The community college system is the least expensive way you can get an education in the state of California. Okay. So you figure if you're there a couple years, about $4,000. Okay. So we're not talking financial aid now, we're just, talking paying. Now the CSUs are, tuition is right around $5,500 a year. Okay, so you figure if you're going to be there full time for maybe 4 years, you have to add books and things like that. Tuition now for the UCs is about, about $12,500. Okay, so then you add that up, books and such. Now the private universities, far more expensive. They don't receive tax money to offset costs. Okay. So folks need to know that. So for example, you can go to City and get an associate degree in accounting. You're going to pay for that program about $4,000 with books and tuition. You're going to go to Heald and get an associate's degree in accounting. You're going to pay about $28,000. Okay. So folks need to be aware of that. You need to ask what the costs are. Private 4-year institutions can be even more pricier. Like a USC could be, $40,000 a year or something. Okay, just out of your pocket. So one thing individuals need to know is the cost. Okay. The other thing is credits. Now within that public university system, if I were to go back over here, if you go to Fresno City College or any community college, our units will transfer to other CSUs, UCs, probably 95% of private universities. So the courses that you take at a community college will follow you. So let's say I want to go to Fresno City for 2 years, transfer to Fresno State. I enter Fresno State as a junior. I've already done 60 units. Okay. Where you need to be careful is on the other hand, or the other deal. These the ones that were up here for privates. Somebody who went to Heald and received an associate degree in accounting, Let's say now they want to continue with their education. They want to go to Fresno State. Guess what? Do you have an idea? Do you think the units transfer? They don't transfer. Okay. The privates have their own accreditation and everything, so there's particulars with that, and the majority of their units will not transfer to a public system. I can't tell you how many times I've had people that went to a Heald or a San Joaquin or even, a national or something, and now they want to go to a UC or a CSU or even a community college. They have to start all over again.
Are people even aware of that cost?
A lot of folks aren't.
College, knowing that they would pay $20,000 for something that otherwise cost them $4,000.
A lot of folks aren't, and that's where we come in. Yeah, I get this all the time. I think we take it for granted because we have an education. Maybe we had mentors. We saw individuals or friends or family members go through college. We understand those things. But there are a lot of people out there that they just don't have a clue. They've never had a mentor. They've never had anybody in their family. They don't know what questions to ask. This is where we come in, and this is why I try to drive it home. Now, and I'm not saying, I have friends who are in the task force that work at Heald and San Joaquin and National, and they provide excellent education, okay? But a lot of times individuals will go to those sites, and they cost a lot more. And the admissions person will say, but we can get you financial aid. A lot of times individuals don't know what to ask about what that means, okay? So, and we'll go into that too, but, the individual may say, okay, your program's $28,000 and we can get you a financial aid package. And, they may talk about what it means. You're going to qualify for this grant and this scholarship, but maybe that takes care of $16,000 or $10,000 of it. The rest of it are loans. Some people don't understand even the difference between that. So they graduate or they drop out, and now they find that, I owe $10,000 still. Wait a minute, I thought I got financial aid. They didn't understand the differences between loans and grants and scholarships, what you pay back, what you don't. Okay? If you're going to go to a private university, usually you're going to have to take out some loans unless you're wealthy and you can just pay for it, or you work and somehow you pay for all of it. But a lot of times it ends up where you have loans. So you always want to ask, do credits or units transfer? Because if you ever want to continue your education, be careful going to one of those private universities. Now, a lot of times they'll transfer it amongst each other. Like Heald, I think, has a agreement with, I want to say, DeVry or National, where their units will transfer. But you're just very limited. Okay. You also want to ask about the costs, how much it costs. Okay. And I get that. Folks didn't realize how much some of those programs cost. The length of the programs. Now, a lot of these private places, it's an accelerated program. It's set up differently. The community colleges, the UCs, the CSUs are on semester systems. You take a class at the beginning of the semester, you end it at the end of the semester, and then you start again. Spring semester, you take a class, whatever. Some of the privates, it's set up differently. So 3 nights a week for 6 weeks, and now you're done with that class. It all has to add up to the same amount of hours, but they do it differently. Sometimes you can get an associate degree, like at a San Joaquin or something, in 16 months, as opposed to 2 years on a semester system. So that is attractive to some people. They want to get in and get out. You can go to National and, maybe get a 4-year degree in 3 years and 4 months or something. Okay. You're going to pay more, so you have to realize your priorities. Okay. Some individuals, they do better at a smaller place. I'm going to go to National University. I drive to, River Park area. It's a 2-story building. There's parking. I walk in. I know where to go. It's just like, it's small. It's whatever. You go to Fresno State. Can I find a parking place? Wait a minute. One class is here. The other class is way across campus. where do I go for financial aid? Okay, well, it's this building. A lot of individuals can get lost at a larger institution. So there are some individuals that do better at a smaller place. Okay. I always advise, let's say I want to get an accounting degree, and they offer it at San Joaquin Valley College, they offer it at Fresno City, they offer it at Reedley, they offer it at Heald. Go visit the campuses. Talk to someone. Get a feel for it. Some individuals, they want the college atmosphere. They want to go to Fresno City because there's activities and there's sports and there's theater and there's music and there's, all that sort of thing. There's student government. Some individuals don't care. I don't want all that. I just want to go to my class and leave. Okay, so get a feel for the campus. Talk with a counselor. Do a tour. Go to some sort of open house. Never sign anything or what have you that is, going to be a commitment until you've done your research. A lot of it has to do with, because these places also receive federal student aid for their students, and they found that some of these institutions were, there was a big default rate. Students were not paying back their financial aid or their loans. Some of these places were, I say places, but there might have been an individual that did not disclose all the information, were not, honest with students as they came in. Sometimes they promised job placement and it doesn't pan out. All these types of things. Most of it has to do with financial aid, though, because they're finding that these students are dropping out, they're not completing programs, they're not paying back their financial aid, and so they're getting into trouble that way. But there are some other issues. Now, and again, there's some systems that are wonderful. Not all of them, get into trouble like that, but there are some, and that's another thing to ask. If I'm going to start this program at such and such college, are you going to be around in 2 months or something, or are the doors going to be shut? So ask those types of questions too. So you just have to be careful.
And I just want to make sure I understood this. The simple reason that if we can simplify it, that credits don't transfer from Heald to say Fresno State is because they're accredited
differently, different bodies. Yeah. So usually, if you're going to stay amongst the public system, your units are going to transfer in the majority of the cases. A lot of your units will transfer to a private. They'll accept it. But the other way doesn't happen. So, any others? I thought you had your hand up.
I was wondering, with the cost, I guess if they're asking about cost or we're asking necessary cost, is that like a good time to talk about financial aid too?
Oh, heck yeah. I think that's next. Yeah, you always want to ask, and let's talk about the different types of financial aid, and then that'll maybe clarify it. And again, some individuals, they just don't understand. It'd be really simple if financial aid meant there was one big pot of money, and we just have one application, and that's it. But there's so many different types of financial aid or assistance. I talked about the various costs, so just right out of your pocket, all the institutions may charge something different. So that's where a lot of individuals, even though, let's say, the community college is the least expensive way you can get an education, but there are some times when I go out and I tell folks, okay, you're going to take 15 units, you're going to pay $690, books $1,000. The look on their face is, oh my goodness, that's a lot of money. Even half of that to some individuals. They even can't afford that. Okay, let alone, $40,000 at a private institution or whatever. Okay, so that's where financial aid comes in. Different types of financial aid. And there's subcategories and all this, but in general. Federal and state financial aid, so that comes from tax money. Okay, when we pay our taxes, the powers that be up in Sacramento or Washington, they decide how much money we're going to put towards transportation and foreign, policy or or what have you, and then how much we're going to put in education, that pot. Okay. You've heard of FAFSA, or we talked about that. Federal application, free application for federal student aid. Okay. That is the main portal, main website that individuals can apply to be eligible for all of this. Okay. So when you do FAFSA, there are different subcategories that from that application you could qualify for. Okay. Federal and state grants. So the federal, they call it the Pell Grant, federal grant, based upon the individual's ability to pay or their financial need. Okay. So when you fill out FAFSA to be eligible for a federal grant, you're going to have to supply how much money, if you're a minor, and how much money did my parents make? Am I in a single family? How many children in the household? Anybody else going to college? There's different factors in there. Okay. Uh-huh.
It's based on the child's ability to pay or his family.
If you're a minor, or actually it's up to the age of 24, you will go by, unless you're emancipated legally from your parents or guardians, it will go by the parent or family or guardian's income. Now, if you're over that age, you're on your own, maybe you were in a foster care system, so you're not affiliated with any guardian or parent or what have you, then it will go by that child's income. Okay. And again, different ratios. If I'm a senior in high school, or I'm 18, and I have two parents, and they make $80,000 a year, and I don't have any siblings, there's no other hardships, I'm not going to qualify for federal student aid. Okay, makes sense? I can pay $46 a unit. Okay, and there's different cutoffs and ratios. Okay, but if I'm maybe a single parent household, my mom brought in $20,000 last year, I have 3 siblings that she's supporting, what have you, then you would probably qualify for a federal aid. Okay, so there's different, and I'd like to say this amount, that amount, but then there's all these other factors. How many children, anybody else in the family going to college, all that is kind of in there too. Federal Pell Grant per year is right around $5,700 per year. Cal Grant, California grant, so that's state funded, about $1,500 per year. And that, again, that's based on ability to pay or financial need. And these federal student aid will transfer wherever. That's national student aid. So you could go to University of Notre Dame or something, and you fill out a FAFSA, and you could be eligible for this. In our particular state, we have our Cal Grant program, so anywhere in the state of California, this would apply. So that some students, they start out at Fresno City and then they move to Sacramento or something. This will still apply for them. At the community college, there's something called a Board of Governors fee waiver. If you're going to a public community college, it's based on financial need. It's not as stringent. The cutoff in terms of the ability to pay and income is not as stringent as these. You don't pay the $46 a unit. So if you take 3 units, you don't pay for the 3 units. If you take 15 units, you don't pay for 15 units. 84% of, for example, Fresno City College's population qualify for a Board of Governors fee waiver. So the majority of our students are not paying the $46 a unit. It's all from tax money from the state government. Yeah. And then, from what we do charge, that filters in too. But we do get money from the government. Board of fee. Okay. Work study, federal work study. You work on campus for so many hours. Usually it's like 16 to 20 hours, what have you. And you don't have to pay tuition, your tuition costs. Okay, so you'll find some students that work in the bookstore or the cafeteria or the library or in the counseling department or with the maintenance guy or whatever. They're not going to earn a paycheck, but then they don't have to pay for their tuition. Depending on the campus, that could be a federal student aid work study position, and they could be living there and not having to pay tuition fees, whatever. Okay, all that is based on financial need right here. You do not pay back grants, fee waiver, what have you. Okay? These right here. Now, there's a stipulation to that, though. You have to maintain a 2.0 grade point average. If you fall below that, you're on academic probation. You will not be able to receive financial aid until you bring up your grades, the 2.0. I can't tell you how many times I run into older adults, young adults, okay, when they first went to college, well, we'll just say Fresno City. They started, they got a grant and this and that, and about a month later, it was like, woo, I have my money, and oh, I'm just not serious, and I'd rather go party, or maybe some hardship or whatever, okay? They never officially dropped their classes. So therefore, they got an F for that semester, and then maybe 2 or 3 years later, they come see me. I'm serious now. I realize the value of education. I want to go back, but I went back, and I can't receive financial aid because you didn't officially drop your classes. You're an F. You're on academic probation. You have to attend that campus that semester and bring up your grades before you receive financial aid again. Yep. So it's free money, but you have to, we're investing in young folks or older folks in good faith, in your education, so you become a productive member of society, but you need to maintain your end of the bargain too. We're not going to give you $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, whatever, $20,000, and then you drop out and whatever. That's not a good investment for us. So there. Yeah. So individuals need to know that because they come back, this happens all the time, and because they did not officially drop classes, that's another thing you need to educate individuals is there's always deadlines in college. You need to be aware of those. There's add and drop deadlines. If you can't complete a class, you need to officially drop. You don't just stop going. Okay? Also from FAFSA, you can qualify for loans. Loans are loans. You pay them back. But student loans, there are advantages, lower interest rates. Generally, you don't pay them back until after you graduate, in some cases even 6 months after you graduate. Okay, they work with you on, how much you're going to pay each month. It's a lower interest rate. So some folks can, this is an option, okay, loans, but loans you pay back. And again, I've heard from individuals that didn't understand that part of their financial aid package was loans. And now they owe all this money. And it never goes away. It follows you. You think, oh, I took out a loan at Reedley College in 1999, and now I live in LA, and I want to go back. I want to go to Los Angeles Community College or CSU, wherever. And you go, and it's like, it pops up, and it says, you owe this money, right? Yeah. So that's serious business if you don't pay back those loans. All of this comes from FAFSA, so that's where you start. Okay? Some individuals qualify for many of these, and they get thousands and thousands of dollars. There are students at City that qualify for a Pell Grant and a fee waiver and what have you. There are some that just maybe qualify for that. There are some that don't qualify for any of it. Okay? When I was going to school, right out of high school, my mom was a secretary and my dad was a carpenter. But they made just enough that we didn't qualify for any of this type of thing. Okay? Eventually I had to take out a couple of these. But then there's something else, scholarships. That's another type of financial aid. In a lot of cases, when you apply for scholarships, they do want you to fill out the FAFSA just because they'll link into it and get some general info. But most scholarships they're not tied to this. Scholarships come from all over the place, right? So this is government money, tax money. Scholarships, schools have scholarships. Alumni give scholarships. Somebody who passed away gave a scholarship. The local Lions Club gives a scholarship. A local business gives a scholarship. Joe Blow, who just wants to give a scholarship, gives a scholarship. There's athletic scholarships. There's music scholarships. There's scholarships if you like animals. There's scholarships if you like chocolate cake. I mean, there are tons and tons of scholarships, really, okay? Different amounts of money. PG&E gives a scholarship once a year, and it's like, I bet it's about $20,000, $30,000. It's a huge one. Okay, but one might be $250, $500, $1,000 bucks. It might be based on your ethnicity. It might be based on your major. Not all scholarships were based on financial need. And that's where when I was going to school, I went after many, many scholarships because I didn't qualify for any of this. There are thousands and thousands of scholarships. My nephew, who told my brother he wanted to go to UC Berkeley, and my brother said, well, I've saved up some money, but not all. So, and they didn't qualify for the grants and such. So he applied to, literally, almost 100 scholarships. My nephew, who is not Jewish, applied for some Jewish Federation something scholarship out of back east somewhere and received it. Who knows? There are many scholarships that folks don't apply for and the money just sits there. Or just one person applied so they get it. Okay? Each campus will have a list of certain scholarships that students can apply for. So like if you went to our campus financial aid or if you linked in or you went on the website, there'll be a link to apply for miscellaneous scholarships. But there is something called FastWeb. It sounds kind of Mickey Mouse, but it's very legitimate. Fastweb.com. I used it when I was a high school counselor with students, and even now. When you go to that site, it will ask you a series of questions. What are your hobbies? Are your parents involved in these organizations? Do you like animals? Do you like, are you an athlete? Do you like music? All these questions you're wondering, why are they asking me this? Okay. Then it will generate a list of scholarships that you can apply for. I did this with a friend of mine the other day, a young man who's a senior, and I'm helping him out just for a friend of mine, and we did FastWeb, and here came up 79 scholarships that he could apply for. Okay. So I always point to FastWeb for that, or the college's financial aid site or department. And so a lot of times students will qualify for scholarships if they don't qualify for some of the grant programs.
One location that maybe site scholarships.
Well, the one that we usually recommend is the FastWeb. It tends to be tied into many nationally. There are other sites probably you can use. I do always recommend the school because you know that it's legitimate. Like if you went to our website, there'll be a link to scholarships that we have on file, that local scholarships, national scholarships. One thing though, don't ever pay for information about what's available out there. Sometimes you'll get spam, or you'll hear about a workshop, or somebody will say, I can help you get thousands and thousands of scholarships. Come to my workshop and, pay $50 to attend, or order online, $100. This will give you a download that you can access scholarships. You can get it free. You can find out about scholarships free. So always advise folks, never pay for some sort of financial aid list or something. That's a scam, because you can find out. Okay.
At least I want to make sure I understand you before. So, not for all scholarships, but for some scholarships, even if you don't think you're going to qualify for grants or for work studies and you don't want loans, for example, it's still worth your time to fill out the FAFSA because they might pull information from that.
Some scholarships will say, because especially if it's based on economic need, but many of them are not based on economic need. So write an essay and, tell me why you're going to be a wonderful nurse or something, or videotape yourself doing something creative with duct tape and you'll win. That's a scholarship, by the way. There are, and every school will have certain scholarships and things like that. So, and you don't pay those back. Sometimes it's on units. Like, for example, like for the federal grant, in order to get the full $5,700, you have to carry 12 units, which is full-time status. If you go below that, then they'll do a ratio or what have you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nope. If scholarships are totally, for the most part, separate. When you apply for FAFSA, it's not going to say, have you received any scholarships, so therefore we're not going to give you this money. So a lot of students, they'll get a federal grant or a Cal grant and mini scholarships.
One of the other limitations of Cal grants is that other than income, parent income, they also ask for property taxes, which they have mortgage on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they want to know your assets and all that, Yeah, so. Okay, so in general, that's what we're looking at, but this FAFSA is where you start, and you apply every year for financial aid too. A lot of individuals don't understand that. They think, because I got this one year, I'm just going to automatically get the check next year. No, you have to apply every year. And, your income may have changed or something. So maybe you don't receive the money or what have you, but you do. You have to apply every year. There's some students that start college, like I said, and they get it once and they think, oh, I'm just going to get it every year after that. But no, you have to apply every year. Also, it's a process. If any of you have done FAFSA or whatever, it's a process. You don't fill it out and then the next day you get a check in the mail or an email that says, congratulations. You have to check your email, your mail, make sure if it says, you need to provide additional information or you fill this out incorrectly, you need to jump on it and do that. I've had some individuals that think, oh, they filled it out initially and then they never checked their email ever again, and then they're like, well, I thought I applied for financial aid, but then I never heard anything, or what have you. Well, maybe they got an email that said, you didn't answer this correctly, or you need to provide this additional information, so it was on hold or something, and they never followed through. Financial aid can be very complicated. Okay, and a lot of individuals, especially if they don't have experience with it. I mean, even for me, it changes all the time. There's different rules and there's different, the FAFSA application changes like every other year, how they word things, and there's special, unique situations in there. So always recommend going to the campus financial aid officer and they can assist. And again, a lot of students, they're just intimidated. They're intimidated by going to the campus. They're intimidated. Now your son just didn't want to go because whatever. But many students, they're afraid to go ask for help. You know, they're afraid to admit, I don't understand this. And it always breaks my heart because if they went and got assistance, then maybe they would have gotten financial aid or, seeing a counselor or what have you. Another thing about college is it's not like high school where, it's time to register and your counselor sends you a little note or comes into the classroom and calls you out or whatever. In college, you have to be proactive. You have to go to the financial aid office and make an appointment and see. You're right, you're at Fresno State, right? We all know that. You have to go to admissions and complete this. You need to go see a counselor, develop that relationship. No one's going to call you and say, hey, you're overdue to come see me. You really need to be proactive, and that intimidates a lot of individuals. One of the things that I always recommend when you have individuals who or folks that are not familiar is getting them on campus some way. A campus tour, an open house, something, once you're there and you have somebody kind of guiding you and showing you around and this is where you go here and this, it becomes less intimidating. You're there, you're like, okay, now I understand this. Like City, that's a large campus. Fresno State, it's a large campus. If, you walk on and you're like, oh my God, where do I go? It can be scary. So any way you can link an individual who's a little intimidated or afraid to get them to campus for something like that, that alleviates the fear or the intimidation. Mm-hmm. It is. It is. A lot of individuals, they have a negative experience with college, and so therefore they don't want to go back. They started, they had a teacher that was critical, or maybe they just got frustrated. Oh, I want financial aid, but I had to wait in line for 3 hours, and or yeah, I went to a counselor and I didn't understand it and they were kind of mean or, whatever. That can deter folks from going back. And it's just not everyone's like that. The majority of people at the college system are wanting to help you. And then be tenacious. Be like, well, that counselor didn't help me, I'm going to go see a different one. But some individuals, they get put off by that or scared from that experience. They've had a negative experience. So how do you overcome that? Usually a transfer, not usually, but as a transfer student, you are you're familiar with college. You've had success. You've proven that you're worth the investment and the time of the university. So yeah, you're a little bit more mature now. So that could be. They're always looking at enrollment. Who do we want to admit and such. And that one thing I tell students is check your email. At this point, that is the way that colleges communicate. Okay? And a lot of, especially young folks, and email is old school. It's like, I want it, colleges are not texting now. Okay? So you have to check your email. Very, very rarely you're going to get something in the mail. Okay? And students are not used to checking their email. And they're missing valuable information. So you have to check your email. Yeah. There's also to encourage individuals and let them know that, again, just because you filled this out or just because you did an admissions application doesn't mean the process is done. Usually when you apply for a campus, we're not talking financial aid now, but there are steps when you're a new student. You have to apply, then maybe you have to take a placement test, maybe you have to do an orientation, before you can even register. Okay, so for example, for community colleges, there's something called matriculation steps, and you have to complete certain things before you can even enroll in a class. You have to do the application, you have to do an orientation, and you have to, unless you're exempt, you have to take a placement test. So a lot of individuals think, I did the application, I'm in, and then they go to register on the first day to register, and there's a hold because they didn't do the other steps. If they check their email, there's going to be reminders about that. Okay. Now in high school, yes, we take, like for example, our community college system, we have something called Reg to Go. And we go out to every single comprehensive high school in Fresno and Madera County. We also go out to some charters. I've actually been to University High. But we'll come in, we do the application with them. We guide them through the application. A lot of schools will help them get the orientation done. We go to the campus with our proctors and give the placement test so they don't have to come to our campuses. In the spring, we go out with a group of counselors and advisors, and we sit down and we advise students on what classes to take. We write an education plan for them. We train them on how to register. On the registration date, we send out at least 1 or 2 counselors to help students register. That happens in this area from our community college district. So in high school, students get that. But you're right, it's the 18, 19, 20-year-old or the 50-year-old that never had, experience with it. And so they're going to need some guidance on all this. And again, to have an understanding that there's usually certain steps and you need to complete the process. Okay, and also to jump on it early. A lot of individuals don't realize that there's a process, and I need to, as you know, right, you're applying for colleges and all that. Now, you don't wait until you graduate, and then it's like, okay, now what do I do? Fresno City College started for this semester January 12th. There are people that walk in that day, never been to college, and say, okay, I'm here, I want to take a class. Okay. Well, since October, we've been registering students. And there's a process you have to go through. You can't just show up, on the first day of class and try to, don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait till the last minute. Well, just a side note, a lot of students like you who are very bright and wanting to go right to a 4-year university and maybe one that, is competitive to get into, and if you can go and dad's okay with that, then, great. But some students don't get in for a particular reason or not quite time to leave or what have you. The community colleges, Fresno City, Reedley, in this area, and many of community colleges have similar. There are special transfer programs for students. Like you can transfer just as a general student. You meet general ed and you apply and, you meet the basic qualifications or what have you. But where there are agreements in community colleges, for example, there's something called TAG, Transfer Agreement Guarantee. You're aware of that, right? And Clovis has that, where you meet with the transfer center counselor, you sign a little agreement, you maintain like a 3.2 grade point average, you take particular courses, and you're guaranteed admittance into all UCs except UCLA, UC Berkeley, and UC San Diego, I think. Now that doesn't mean you can't transfer there. I'm just saying the guaranteed program. CSUs, there are similar agreements. It's a little different. You major in a particular major. You get an associate degree in that major. You meet certain criteria. You're guaranteed admissions in that major and early registration. Okay? And then there's something on top of that. Not on top of it, but there's also something called honors. Have you heard of our honors program? I was out at University High probably about in November or something talking about honors. It was like during lunchtime or something. But do you know Miss Bird, Ginny Bird? Go to her. She used to work at Fresno City, so she kind of knows. Ask her about honors. Honors program at the community colleges is, yeah. And this might be, if you go to Willow or Clovis, You absolutely want to ask about honors because it sounds like you're going to, yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Okay. Honors is you're in a special group of students. You have to apply and be accepted. We don't just say, oh, you're in honors. You have to apply. You have to have a certain SAT score, grade point average. Did you apply for the honors program? Excellent. Okay. Okay. So it's a special honors program within the community college. You take honors level courses. It's more stringent. It's more, the curriculum's a little more advanced. It's like if you were in high school and you took all AP classes, right? So you're challenged a bit more. Many different perks to that. One is if you're in the honors program, early registration before all the other high school students. And in our system, we register about 5,000 high school students every spring, okay, on a certain day. But if you're in honors, you register before all those 5,000 students, okay? Your honors classes can only reach up to 25 students, cannot go beyond that. Now, that's a real good deal in college because some college classes are 150 students in an auditorium, okay? So it's really nice to have 25 students. You'd be part of a tag agreement, guaranteed transfer. There's special scholarships, special recognition in academic societies. There's field trips, your own advisor counselor. Your instructors are, top of the line instructors in the honors program. And if you want to transfer to a very competitive university, okay, private university or a UCLA or Berkeley, they look very highly on honor students. They actually will recruit you, okay, because not only are you taking what you're supposed to, but you're taking honors level courses, which is attractive to them. You're saying, I am prepared for this university. And I'm not going to say guaranteed into Loyola, Marymount, or Berkeley, or Stanford, or whatever, but you're in a different pile when they're doing admissions in honors. But you have to, you apply and then you select it, and your curriculum will be a little more rigorous, okay? But it is a really sweet deal. So here's a little hint. We're doing some counseling, advising here. On that honors application, right, you probably meet all the general qualifications, right? You have to have a 3.5 or this SAT score or whatever, okay? Well, all students who apply for the honors program have that, okay? It's that essay that makes a difference. You know that, okay? So be real creative with that essay. And also just in general, the community colleges in transferring, you're going to save so much money your first 2 years as opposed to those thousands and thousands of dollars. And when you transfer, unless you want to get an associate's degree at a community college, but when you transfer and you complete your bachelor's degree, it's not going to say, well, first I went to Clovis Community College and then I transferred. It's going to be on your diploma, there's a stigma with some students, especially some high school students there's peer pressure. There's a lot of very talented, smart students at University High, and well, we want to apply for this, and we want to go to UC this, and we want to try for Stanford, and we want to there's a stigma with community college. Oh, it's just Fresno City. It's the old, what we used to be called junior colleges, and we stopped doing that because that indicated we were not we were somehow a junior, we were not equivalent. Okay? Our curriculum is the same curriculum that you have to take. I mean, when I took English 1A at COS in Visalia, it would have been the same English 1A that I would have taken if I would have went straight to Cal Poly. It's the same curriculum. But a lot of students have that. You pay less. But they do. It's like, oh, it's just at Fresno City, But man, I'm going to tell you, a lot of those students later who have $50,000 in student loans because they went directly to one of these campuses, and they have their peer next to them, and they have limited amount of loans because they went their first couple years to a community college, maybe saved up some money. Guess who's the smarter one, right? But there's also a stigma too, or we need to communicate that not everyone is appropriate, or it's required that you are at a university. Maybe what you want to do only requires an associate's degree. I always give this example. My very best friend and I in high school were researching what do we want to be. Okay. First I wanted to be going to music, and then I went, okay, I want to be psychology counseling, high school counselor. She wanted to be a respiratory technician, therapist, whatever. Okay. X-ray technician, ultrasound, all that. It just fascinated her. We look into the amount of education that's required. Okay, so for me to be a high school counselor, I have to get a bachelor's degree, and I have to get a high school counseling, it's a credential, and then in most cases a master's degree. So I'm going to school for years and years and years just so I can be hired. They don't even look at you unless you have that. She looks into it. It's an associate's degree at a community college to be a radiology technician. Okay. So we're starting out at our community colleges at the same time. After 2.5 years, I'm transferring to Cal Poly. I am barely maybe a fourth or a third of the way done with what I need to do. She's graduating. She goes to work. She's working at community hospital. I finally graduate. Do you know that we make about the same amount of money?
I was even going to say possibly she makes more money.
Yeah. But she went to school for 2, and that's all it required. And she absolutely wanted to do that. It's somebody who wants to be a welder or mechanic, or they want to be a preschool teacher, associate's degree or a certificate. Excellent. So, that's something else to kind of throw out there. And you can, yeah. You can add on that later if you'd like. So anyway. Okay, well, what I thought might be an hour went into a little bit longer, but very good conversation.
So is it okay to contact you if anyone comes to have any?
Oh my goodness, yes. Yes, I have more of my cards.
23 in the battle center, you can call in and say, I don't know how to articulate it.
I would say you can call me first, and if I can't answer it, then I'll transfer you or to our financial aid specialist. Okay. Anything regarding counseling, admissions, advising, wanting to know about other campuses, that sort of thing. Financial aid, you can start with me, and then I'll help you from there.